The number one mistake business owners in Central Arkansas make is thinking that digital marketing means posting to a social media account. Hey, it's not their fault. They've just never been educated on what digital marketing is, how it works, and how inexpensive it can be. They want to reach new customers, but they just feel stuck. Here's some great news. The sales team at our station are experts in all things digital. If you ever want to talk about it, we'd love to help. Call us at 501-404-6560. This is the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1 FM, The Answer.
Good morning, Little Rock. Oh, I've got a delay in my headphones. This thing, that stinks. I got some wireless headphones here. Hold on, bear with me. I wondered about that. We'll see if this is any better. Good morning. Oh yeah, no lag time there. Boy, that's a bummer. I thought I was really clever. I got this little AirFly adapter thing, wireless Bluetooth, and I was going to be able to use my Bose. These are really too fancy for me, but Bose noise-canceling headphones, that would have been really cool.
Not today, man.
I'm not going to tell you how much I spent on this stupid adapter, but I think it's going back to Amazon. Good morning. Welcome to the Dave Elswick Show. Kind of a somber Monday morning, I'm not going to lie, and I think you all certainly know what I'm referencing. My name is Nic Horton, and I am the founder and CEO of Opportunity Arkansas. You've heard me in this chair several times now over the last couple of years, and I've been on the other side of the table quite a bit, but I don't know, this is probably the fifth or sixth time I've had the privilege of guest hosting and filling in for Dave. Dave is a little bit under the weather, so we wish him the best and certainly hope that he gets to feeling better as soon as possible so that he can get back into this seat and rejoin all of you, his beloved audience. But it's a somber Monday. I don't really know how else to say it. And I don't really care. I think I speak for a lot of folks out there. I don't really care what your political views are. And political views aside, I don't care what your views of President Trump are. It's a somber day. It's been a somber few days as we've seen what's happened in Pennsylvania this weekend and the reaction. And I think for those of us that are just still kind of processing the events of this weekend, going back and looking at everything that's been said and been done the last 5, 6, 7 years that's gotten us to this point. Certainly we're going to unpack a lot of that here on the show this morning. But this didn't happen overnight. And what I'll just say this at the outset too. What I don't want to do is, for those of you that are sports fans, Monday morning quarterback too much. It is Monday morning, but I'm not a security expert. And by the way, 99.99% of you aren't either. So I hate to burst your bubble on that. I've seen a lot of security experts on Twitter this weekend, a lot of self-proclaimed security experts. Now, don't get me wrong, there's clearly something that went wrong. Okay, there's clearly multiple things, I think, that even to an untrained eye don't add up and don't pass the smell test. But I'm going to encourage all of you to not assume that we know more than we do. Because I think right now, frankly, we know less than we think, and there are more unknowns than there are knowns, to quote the great Donald Rumsfeld. Okay, there are known knowns, there are unknown knowns. There are known unknowns, and there are unknown unknowns, okay? And right now, frankly, there are more unknowns than there are knowns. There are more things that we just don't know about the situation. And I think it is fair to be skeptical of the information that we're going to get. Because what did we see immediately? Immediately, within minutes, we saw folks speculating. We've now seen, the last 24 hours, 12 hours even, you've seen the narrative shift quite a bit towards, this guy was a Republican. This guy was a registered Republican. He was probably a Trump supporter. Now, if you can make that make sense for me, I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can shoot me a tweet at Nic Horton is my personal Twitter account. You can call into the show if you'd like. I'm going to have to get the phone number here in the break, but I don't know it from memory yet.
If you're a listener, a long-time listener, you should know. It's 501-823-0965, of course.
Of course, 501-823-0965, of course. I think I have it saved in my phone. It's funny, we don't remember phone numbers anymore. Like, I love, and she's going to get on to me for saying this, but my wife doesn't know my phone number. I've had the same phone number my entire life. Like, ever since junior high when I got my first cell phone, I've had this same phone number. It's never changed.
Yeah, me too.
And my wife, who I love dearly, and we've been married for 10 years now, and been together for 12, still doesn't know my phone number. Because we just, we don't. Like, we put numbers in our cell phone and we don't process. A lot of times you don't even look at it anymore, right? You just share somebody's contact and you don't even look at the numbers. But yes, if you want to be a part of the show, certainly there's a lot to discuss and unpack about what happened this weekend. We're going to be doing that over the next couple hours here on the Dave Elswick Show. You can call in 501-823-0965, 501-823-0965. Would love to hear your thoughts. Again, I think it's just important. We'll dive in, okay? We're going to play some audio. We're going to talk about what we know and what's being said. And certainly, there's a lot of analysis and commentary about the way this story is being covered by the media, as always. But, at some point, we have to stop acting surprised. And I certainly think, and you'll see if you listen to me or you follow my Twitter feed or otherwise, I'm more than willing and more than happy to mix it up with the media and call them out for this sort of nonsense. This is some of the headlines of, Trump rally interrupted by loud noises. President Trump rushed off stage in response to noise. Things like that. We'll go through some of these later in the show as we have time. I thought they were parodies when I first started seeing them. But they're real. Some of these are real. The Washington Post, others. And again, I think this happened late Saturday evening. A lot of them probably were very close, if not done, with their Sunday newspaper editions. And they had to rush and write a story. And I will give many of them credit in the sense that, again, I think it's risky and unhealthy. And in today's instant reaction culture with social media and everything else, it's very tempting to just speculate and make claims or assumptions or just float theories that can be very unhelpful. They can be unhelpful for law enforcement. They can be unhelpful for the public. They can be unhelpful for the families of victims, and we should not forget. Thank God for the way this turned out for President Trump. And that's not a political statement. That's just a statement as an American. But there were people who died this weekend. There were folks who, based on what I've been reading, are still in critical condition that may or may not survive. And so it's a sigh of relief for all of us to see, you know, that image of President Trump, which will certainly go down in history, of his fist pumping in the air, and that video of him addressing the crowd as they're trying to drag him off. You know, I've seen one version of that clip where you can actually hear the audio. The first few versions I saw I couldn't hear, but I've seen a couple where you can hear him starting to leave the podium and getting, you know, the Secret Service is all around him, and they've got him huddled up, and they're trying to start to move him off the stage, and his microphone at the podium picks up some of the audio of what's being said, and you can hear President Trump say, wait. And he actually tells the Secret Service to stop so that he can address the crowd and say, fight. And now, in some of the comments he's made since then, he's even said, hey, I wanted to go back out and address the crowd. Yeah, he wanted to go back to the podium.
We got that audio if you want.
We've got the audio? Yeah, you ready with it now?
What's up?
Yeah, you can hear him there after the crowd noise kind of subsides. Wait. It is interesting, too, not to be critical of him, certainly, as many people have been, that he was inciting violence. And you talk about just making your head want to explode. This guy gets shot, and within 30 seconds, 45 seconds, he's up, he's on his feet, he's ready to go back to the podium, and he says, fight, which, by the way, he's been saying for 10 years. Okay, that's not a new statement. That's not a revelation. But, of course, predictably, the media says, oh, he was inciting violence. He was saying fight. He's inciting violence. He literally just got shot by a lunatic, by all accounts. I mean, certainly, you have to be a lunatic, I think, to do something like this. But it's interesting, you could hear him say, wait, and then when he says, fight, from what I can tell, he didn't actually say anything audibly. He just lip synced those fight. And what a moment. And thank God that he's okay. But also, I think as I've had more time to process, thank God that he stopped and did that he signaled that he was okay. Because for the people in that venue that obviously were terrified and rightfully so, if he just goes down and gets rushed out of there and nobody knows, maybe for hours, whether or not he's okay, this could be a very different story in a lot of ways. And we'll share probably here in the next segment or two some of his comments since the shooting. But he knew, and the presence of mind in that moment, to say, I know I've got to send a message, not only to the people that are here, but to the world, that I'm okay. And we're not going to be stopped. I don't know that I've seen a more powerful moment in my 20 years of studying politics. We got to take a break. We'll come back. We're going to talk a lot more about the attempted assassination of President Trump this weekend. And we're going to talk about some state issues as well. Y'all know I'm a state issues guy. There's a lot going on at the state level and a lot that we want to unpack. So Nic Horton of Opportunity Arkansas filling in on the Dave Elswick Show. Stick around. We're just getting started.
I got to know Billy Mack, and he is the owner of ICU Protection. And I have been talking about getting the security system for my home, but I didn't like the prices that were being charged by the alphabet soup that's out there for security. Billy Mack gave me a call when I called over to his business, and we ran over what I thought I needed for my home. I got the door and window sensors. I got a couple of outdoor cameras. I had analytics that I wanted, and the cost of those things was significantly lower than everybody else. And on top of it, I don't have to pay for any of the hardware. Didn't have to pay for any cameras, none of the door and window sensors, none of that. All of that was free. And then all I had to do was pay for the service. The service has been exceptional. And that's what you'll get from Billy Mack, whether you do it for your home or you do it for your business. Billy Mack is ICU Protection. That's the name of the company. ICU Protection. All you have to do is to do what I did, and that was give Billy Mack a call. 501-205-1333. That's 501-205-1333. Security for your home or your business with ICU Protection.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. The news worlds of Republicans and Democratic partisans do not overlap much at all anymore. A very small percentage of America watches any single entertainment show at the same time, much less news programs. The Super Bowl and the presidential debates are the only events shared in real time by tens of millions of Americans. And everybody knows what they saw and heard at the debate. And those who chose to watch the president's interview with George Stephanopoulos know what they saw and heard there. Everyone is talking about exactly the same thing, a very rare thing these days. A huge slice of those people across all ages, backgrounds, and political opinions, and especially from different states, both ruby red and deep blue, have the same deep doubts about the president's ability to guide the country and the world through to the next inauguration, much less the next 4 years. And not just Americans either. Our allies are watching and are worried. Our enemies, too, are calculating. President Biden should do the best thing for the country and step aside now.
House number one, what is your idea of a fun night?
Hi, Sex Homes. I'd say staring at my outdated interior.
House number two?
Smelling my storm-damaged walls.
Did I mention I'm facing foreclosure?
I'll buy both houses. Got a house you need to sell fast? Call Sex Homes for a quick cash offer. They buy homes in Central Arkansas from people who need to sell fast. Burned homes, inherited homes, houses about to fall down. Get a quick cash offer at sexhomes.com.
He's back. That's right. The Doc Washburn Show. Listen each Tuesday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer. He's been off the air for 2.5 years and is ready to tackle the topics the others avoid and give his unique insight on breaking news and controversial issues. It's the Doc Washburn Show. Tuesday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer. It's the Doc Washburn Show.
An Arkansas talk legend, Dave Elswick, on 101.1 FM, The Answer.
And we're back on the Dave Elswick Show. Nic Horton, founder and CEO of Opportunity Arkansas, honored to be sitting in for Dave today. You know, when this was all unfolding with President Trump in this horrific, horrible situation in Pennsylvania, I had no idea I was going to be in this chair today. So it's been a whirlwind of a weekend and last 24 to 36 hours certainly, and we're still processing. There's a lot that we don't know about what transpired this weekend in Pennsylvania. But I want to start, we've got 6 minutes or so here before the half-hour break. I want to just kind of lay some groundwork for what we do know, because certainly, like many of you, I'm sure, I've been watching video, reading tweets, reading firsthand accounts of what happened. We've got some audio from Dan Bongino, who's a former Secret Service officer himself and now a talk radio host, who has given his perspective on this, which I think is probably as insightful as anything that I've seen or heard. So we'll cover that probably after the half-hour break. But what we know, I want to just start there and kind of lay some groundwork for this. I'm very chronological in my thinking, and so I want to just start at the beginning. What we know, and then what has transpired and what's come to light since then. So certainly you've all, by now, I'm sure, seen the video. I think most of the world has seen the video of what transpired. President Trump speaking at the podium, looking off to, I guess, his right. And then there's 4 or 5, I don't know, maybe 6 shots fired. You've heard a lot of people, some first-hand accounts now say it sounds like fireworks. I've seen a couple folks, journalists and others who say, well, I've been around gunfire, and I knew immediately what it was. And so the shots pop off, you hear that sound, and I think there's a couple, maybe 3 shots to go off before President Trump reaches for his ear and then ducks behind the podium. Immediately you see, of course, the Secret Service rush in and get him on the ground. Interesting in a way. Again, I'm not a security expert, and I'm not going to pretend to be, but just my observations from what I've gathered, that the banner that you see in front of the stage, that's covered in front of the American flag style drapery, I believe from what I heard this weekend, is bulletproof. And so it makes sense, certainly, and I think from everything I've gathered, they followed protocol by getting him on the ground and getting him behind that bulletproof barrier as quickly as possible. What's interesting to me, and I think a lot of people, is then immediately they pick him up, and who, again, there's a lot we don't know, okay? And there was a lot certainly being said in earpieces amongst the security team, amongst the Secret Service. So I'm going to say this a lot today, but I'm reminding myself as much as anyone, we need to be cautious about speculating. I know a lot of us are really upset and have a right to be, frankly. I mean, how does this happen? And in some ways, frankly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner because of how hot the rhetoric has gotten. I mean, I remember back during COVID in particular, or even the first time that President Trump ran in 2016, and seeing what was being said in the national media. And we're going to play some of that audio too, because those folks that are always so quick to point the finger, and they're so quick to say that this is Trump's fault, or it's your fault, or it's talk radio host's fault. They're so quick to blame and point the finger, but they are complicit in this as much as anyone. But you see, so you see in this scenario, in the scene from Saturday in Pennsylvania, Butler, Pennsylvania, they get President Trump on the ground, they pick him up immediately, and then to me, as I'm watching the video with my wife for the first time at home, she makes the comment of, well, they stood him up, but they got people standing around him and in front of him that are shorter than he is. And you can see his head. I mean, he just got shot in the head, in the ear, and then they stand him up with people standing around him who are shorter than he is. And you can clearly see, I mean, indisputably from all the videos and all the pictures and everything, you can see his full face and his full head. I mean, how does that happen? And we're going to get into that too, because there is some that we know about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, being pushed into the Secret Service. And there have been a lot of conservatives, myself included, for a long time that have been talking about how these dangerous political ideologies are not just toxic, they're not just divisive, they're not just turning people against each other, but they're actually physically dangerous. And we're seeing that play out right now. Nic Horton in for Dave Elswick. Stick around. We are just getting started on the Dave Elswick Show.
Listening to the Dave Elswick Show, Monday through Friday mornings, 7 to 11, helps you keep up with the news.
I think the people of Arkansas are too smart for the left, and they know that the party that really stands for freedom and empowering people is the Republican Party, and I'm proud of the work that we're doing.
The Dave Elswick Show, Monday through Friday, 7 to 11 a.m., only on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
Number 41.
Tired of health insurance providers who treat you like just another number on a spreadsheet? If so, you'll love T. Chase Healthcare Solutions. She's putting up eye care and Medicare solutions. When you get Medicare insurance with T. Chase Healthcare Solutions, you'll always talk to a real person who understands your real concerns. Call now for a free Medicare breakdown book, 501-658-5127, or visit tchasehealthcaresolutions.com.
There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1, The Answer. So, thinking about climbing Pikes Peak? Yeah, well, you can get this radio station there, too. TuneIn.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. We're always on 101.1, The Answer. From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds of conservative opinion. It's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Sebastian Gorka, weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, followed by Stacey Washington at 5. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo. Here's your forecast on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
A heat advisory remains in effect today as heat index values push above 105. The high temperature is 97. By tomorrow, we'll see a very similar day unfold, 99 on Tuesday afternoon with the heat index above 105. Later Wednesday, scattered thunderstorm chances return. Those terrain chances increase on Thursday. Cooler, drier air pushes into the state later this week. From the Channel 7 Weather Center, I'm James Bryant.
Stimulating talk with Dave Elswick. 101.1 FM. The Answer.
And we're back on the Dave Elswick Show. Nic Horton, Opportunity Arkansas, filling in for Dave. Dave, if you're listening, or even if you're not, we hope you get to feeling better as soon as possible. Dave's a little bit under the weather this morning, so you're stuck with me, but we certainly wish him the best and hope he is back on his feet as quickly as possible. We've been talking about the events of this weekend. I don't really know. I've got some other things, some local issues and things that I'd love to talk about as we have time today, but frankly, this is the biggest news story perhaps in the last 20 years, perhaps in my lifetime. I'm not sure. It's difficult to even put it into words. I'm going to continue to caution everybody to just remain calm, and let's make sure we get the truth. Let's make sure we get the facts about what really happened here. But we've been walking through kind of chronologically what we do know, what we can see on video, and what's now coming out from eyewitnesses and folks that were on the scene. And then we're going to play some audio and talk a little bit about what the security experts are saying. I mean, how did this happen? How did this happen? And again, I'm the type, I'm really pretty analytical. I've watched presidential speeches. I've attended some events. I've been to the White House. I've done some things. And the concept of security to me is so overwhelming, right? Because there are so many variables. And there are so many things. I mean, think back to 9/11. There were some obvious things, right, that were missed, clearly. But even today, when you get on an airplane, you go through TSA, they put you through the x-ray, they put you through the body scanner, depending on the type of security clearance you have. And they've got a pretty good rundown. They've got a pretty good system going, right, of things that they're looking for and things that they're tracking. But then, every 8 or 9 years, what happens? Somebody sneaks a box of matches on an airplane or a razor or whatever. And then, government overreacts and says, okay, well, now we're going to have to ban matches. Now we're going to have to, and again, some of that stuff is appropriate depending on the situation. But my point is, there's so many variables, and every time you think you've eliminated them all, or you've accounted for them all, something else pops up. We talk about the Second Amendment. Certainly there's going to be, I'm sure, a lot of backlash, and a lot of people who are calling for new gun restrictions. I mean, President Biden's been calling for them for years, and brags about having been involved in the initial assault weapons ban and says he's going to bring it back. You can't stop all of this. You can't change human nature. I wish you could. But you can never get rid of all the guns, and you can't stop people from using them for bad things. There's some things you can do to minimize that, but you can't stop it completely. It's just not possible. And so when I look at, to me, those are all kind of analogous to Secret Service. And you're talking about thousands of people in a very small space. And I know they do screening and X-rays and maybe clear bags, and I don't know everything they do. I'm not a security expert. However, you don't have to be a security expert to look at what happened on Saturday and think something went horribly wrong. Because if you've seen the satellite imagery and you've seen the video, I saw a new video this morning. And we've got some audio we're going to play from BBC of some of the eyewitnesses who said, hey, there's a guy on the roof. Like, there's a guy on the roof right there, and he has a gun. And that went on for minutes. And then you see, I saw this and right out of the gate on Saturday, you see the snipers that were just adjacent to the stage where President Trump was speaking. There's a video, multiple videos now floating out there where you can see those guys aiming at and sighting in the shooter, the attempted assassin, and they're sitting there, they're adjusting their sights, they're looking around, they kind of look to the left, look to the right, and they don't do anything. How does that happen? How does someone get on a roof 150 yards, they're saying, 120, 150, I've heard estimates within those ranges, but exceptionally close. In fact, based on the imagery I've seen, it looks like the closest building to the stage, other than the building that the Secret Service snipers were on. He climbs up there. He's spotted. We know that from multiple eyewitnesses. And again, then now you can see in the video, you can see the snipers had identified him and were looking at him. And he's there for minutes, we're being told, 2 to 3 minutes, maybe. And they have him in their sights, and they do nothing until he starts shooting. I mean, my God. I don't know how else to say it. And I don't know what the protocol is. There's been debate on the national media about, well, they didn't have clearance. The protocol is you have to wait till shots are fired. Well, maybe we need to think about changing the protocol. Because if you see someone on a roof with a rifle aimed at anyone, shoot them. Don't have to kill him. Shoot him in the leg. Shoot him in the arm. But do something to stop them. And that would be, to me, the most basic and the bare minimum that could be done here. And now we're seeing reports, and I saw some of this, I think it was late yesterday. The AP reported that a law enforcement officer, we don't know who, we don't know what agency he was with, he may have been local, he may have been Secret Service, we don't know. At least I haven't seen, if it's out there. But a law enforcement officer actually went up on the roof that the shooter was on to, I assume, confront him. And according to the AP story, according to their statements that they've released, confronted the shooter or said something to the shooter at least. The shooter, in some way or another, became aware that he was there and turned his rifle towards the law enforcement officer. who then turned and went back down the ladder and left. And I am not a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not even suggesting that something happened here that intentionally left President Trump in danger. But some of what we know now, 36 hours later, is making it really, really difficult to assume the best. It's just making it really difficult to understand how this could possibly happen. And I hope, like many have now said, that there will be some accountability. I think the challenge will be that government is, how do I put this? Government sucks in general, but also government sucks at investigating itself. And there are very poor incentives for government to investigate itself and to reveal the truth. There are a lot of incentives for government to investigate itself and to tell us only what they want us to know. And I'm not saying that means there's going to be a cover-up. I'm not saying that this was intentional. I'm not saying any of that. I am very specifically not saying any of that. But what I am saying is I think there's a lot about this situation that we're probably never going to know. In part because of who's in charge. I'll just be honest. You know, put the competency questions aside, just based on what we know about Joe Biden from the last 50 years he's been in Washington, I don't think he particularly cares to get to the bottom of this. He's saying he does, sort of. And he did an Oval Office address last night where he stared at the ceiling and talked about, what was he saying? Battle boxes? He kept saying battle boxes over and over instead of ballot boxes. And I saw one clip where he almost said, "Make America Great Again." That was pretty funny. That was really funny. We got to make America. Well, you know the thing. You know the deal. There's a lot here that we still don't know, and we may never know, but there is a lot that doesn't sit well, and there are a lot of I think I have, as most of you, we have more questions than answers. And I think that's what's really frustrating right now. And we can be patient and we can wait, and hopefully we'll learn more. We are learning more. But is anyone going to be held accountable for this? The answer is most likely no. And that's what's really scary. Nic Horton of Opportunity, Arkansas, filling in for Dave Elswick. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You know, I've been talking about health premiums and how expensive they are and how your health premiums keep going up and up and up every year, and your deductible keeps going up and up and up, because if it didn't go up, your health premium would go up even higher. Well, save 30 to 50% on your health premium, get your deductible under control, and get rid of all those co-pays that you might have as well, so you can go in and just see the doctor. Get paid to go to the doctor instead of having a copay. You can do that by giving a call to Pat Davis and the health plan man at 1-501-605-6935. That's a call or a text. Again, 1-501-605-6935, or check them out online, yourhealthplanman.com, and remember, they'll treat you better.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Freedom, opportunity, prosperity, pillars of our great nation fought for by patriots before us. At AFP Arkansas, we're committed to these principles. Together, let's champion the values that make America shine. If we want a state where freedom, opportunity, and prosperity are abundant to everyone, then it will take the voices of everyday Arkansans like you to create positive change. Join in celebrating and defending our legacy. Learn how you can keep the American dream alive at BelieveInAR.com.
501-823-0965. The Dave Elswick Show. 101.1 FM. The Answer.
Nic Horton filling in for the great Dave Elswick. Dave, hope you get to feeling better soon. Thanks, as always, for the honor and privilege of being in this chair. We've been talking a lot about what happened on Saturday. There's a lot we don't know. And I think as we move forward, we're going to learn more. But frankly, I think even as more information comes out, you know, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And the more we learn, the more questions we're going to have. Because the more we learn about the facts of what transpired and how this breach, this massive security breach was allowed to occur, and the fact that you have snipers on the roof aiming their rifles at this guy, and they sit there until he gets a shot off, until he fires his rifle. I don't know about you, but that raises more questions than it does answers. And so what we know now is that occurred. And then we've also now seen reports from the Associated Press that a law enforcement officer came up the ladder, or the stairs or whatever, but he climbed up on the roof and confronted the shooter. The shooter turned his rifle at the law enforcement officer, who then left. He just left. If that's an accurate report, he just walked away from a deranged lunatic that had a rifle pointed at the former and next president of the United States. And I don't understand how that happens. I don't understand how someone got on that roof at all. And I certainly don't understand how he was identified, or I should say he was spotted, and now we know confronted, before he started firing, and was allowed to still shoot. And now people are dead. People are dead. Thank God President Trump is okay, but some people didn't make it. And there may be more based on the reports of some folks still being in critical condition. So I'm not a security expert. You're not a security expert. Don't pretend like you are, but it's okay that you're not, because you have eyes and ears and a brain that God gave you. And you can look at what transpired and say, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't mean it was a conspiracy. I don't think it was a conspiracy. I think it was incompetence. I think incompetence is most often the explanation. A lot of times we want some grand conspiracy to make it all make sense. And I understand that inclination, I guess. But a lot of times the most obvious answer is right in front of us, which is that it was just gross incompetence, and I think that's what happened here. But maybe it was gross incompetence with a little mix of radical ideology mixed in. Because we now are seeing reports that have been out there for a while, but they're now resurfacing, right, because all of this has happened. And I think, Aaron, you have some audio to this effect. But DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is as responsible for this as anything, as far as I'm concerned. Because we've started putting skin color and gender and sexual identity and all of these things ahead of virtue, ahead of competence. You know, MLK Jr. famously said what? I want my kids to grow up in a world where they don't have to be judged by the color of their skin, but on who they are. Inside, not outside. The content of their character. Not what they look like. Not whether they have pink hair or purple hair or they identify as a whatever. But based on who they are and their competence and their character and their virtue. That's the real American way. That's what this country was really founded on. But now you have these radical ideas that we need to somehow use government and the force of government and, frankly, the end of a gun to force people into this ideology and to try to create equity, which, by the way, is impossible. It's impossible. Aaron, you've got some audio, I think, on this. Maybe? Not yet. We'll get to it in the next hour.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm not. We've got about
too long.
And a half.
We'll get stick with us after the top of the hour. We're going to play some audio that outlines how the Secret Service has been using DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, in their hiring practices. In fact, there's a report from the Daily Signal this morning that the director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, committed to having 30% women in the Secret Service by 2030, rather. Now, that may be totally fine if those are qualified women. There's nothing wrong, certainly, with a woman being a Secret Service officer, necessarily. But just because you're a woman, that doesn't qualify you. Any more than just being a man doesn't qualify you. I would be a horrible Secret Service agent. Aaron would probably be a great one. I mean, I wouldn't mess with Aaron.
I don't know about that.
But being a man doesn't qualify me to be a Secret Service agent any more than it qualifies you to host the Dave Elswick Show. And so the idea that because you're a woman, well, we want to have a third of the workforce be women. You can't even tell us what a woman is. These are the same people that won't tell you what a woman is. I mean, they just wrapped themselves up in this crazy ideology that they can't even find their way out of. And now It's costing lives. It's not guns. It's not tax cuts. It's not limited government that's causing these problems. It's government. And it's this radical mindset that they're shoving down your throats. We're going to talk more about it in the next hour. Nic Horton of Opportunity, Arkansas, filling in for Dave Elswick. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Find us at 1011FMTheAnswer.com. Download our apps. Stream us 24/7. KDXE, Little Rock, Chemic Village.
In Arkansas, cancers of the lung, breast, prostate, and colon are the leading cause of cancer deaths. Yet simple screenings can save lives, helping doctors find and treat cancer early. If you have a family history of cancer, you need to start screenings even earlier, because cancer screenings can never come too soon, only too late. To learn more, visit cancer.uams.edu. Sponsored by this station, the Arkansas Broadcasters Association, and UAMS.
Stimulating talk with Dave Elswick on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
Welcome back to the Dave Elswick Show. Good morning, Little Rock. It's a somber Monday morning, and I say that with all respect and sincerity. It has been a dreary, gloomy weekend, and I think a lot of us are still really processing what has transpired in our country, and frankly, the reaction to it, because what I've seen is not as bad, frankly, as I anticipated from the left. But I think that's also just because I have slowly over time started to really filter out my Twitter feed and the news that I consume, not wanting to just see the nastiness all the time. I'm sure it's out there. And I know it's been out there for a long time. If anything, I think maybe they're cowering down, hunkering down a little bit right now, because they know, to some degree, that they're complicit in creating this environment that we're now in. There's nothing that really says it better or more succinctly in a picture than that picture of Kathy Griffin. It's horrific, and it was horrific at the time. I remember, it's been 6 or 7 years ago, I think now, but Kathy Griffin holding up a decapitated head covered in blood of President Trump. And people just thought it was just hilarious. People on the left just thought it was wonderful. The peaceful protesters that we hear about, the ones that burned down half of America during the pandemic, they looted half of Little Rock. I remember being in Little Rock during some of those early days, right after the George Floyd incident. And they were lighting things on fire. You don't see that, and I'm not the first one to say this, but where are the riots right now? Where are the conservative riots? Where are the hardworking, blue-collar, Trump-loving Republican conservatives right now? Are they storming the streets? Are they burning things down? Are they hanging Joe Biden in effigy? No, it's 8 o'clock on a Monday morning. They're probably at work. They're on their way to work. It's probably many of you out there right now listening. I know it is. Now, don't take me out of context and say that I'm encouraging any of that. That's the opposite of the point that I'm making. The point is that it's not happening, and it's not going to happen. And it shouldn't happen, because that's not how we deal with things in this country. But that's the culture that the left has been creating. And we were talking, by the way, this is Nic Horton filling in for Dave Elswick. I'm the founder and CEO of Opportunity Arkansas, and filling in for Dave, who's a little bit under the weather today. I'm grateful for the chance to be here. I had no idea when I was watching this all unfold this weekend that I would be in this chair today, and still really feel like I'm processing it with a lot of you and what the implications of it are going to be. Biden is promising an independent investigation. Color me skeptical that we're going to get an independent investigation, or an investigation that's truly independent. But we were talking in the last hour, towards the end there, about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I don't know, to me it doesn't sound great. I think to them, they think it sounds really cute and clever. I've been doing this too long and studying these people for too long, and I know exactly what they mean when they talk about equity. They talk about something, you know, they're talking about something that doesn't exist, that can't exist, because we're all unique, and we were all created differently, with our own unique intrinsic value by our Creator. So, should we treat people equally? Absolutely. Should we treat people fairly and with respect because we were all created uniquely and because we were created perfectly? We've screwed that up, right? I mean, we do it every day. But we were created by a perfect Creator who loves all of us equally. And so that's what we're called to do. But equity isn't real. There's no way for it to be real. And I like the expression of the concept of equality of opportunity. We talk about that a lot, frankly, at Opportunity Arkansas. It's a core part of what we do. But there is no such thing as equality of outcomes or equity. And what they've done is they've shoved this so far down our throats and into every tentacle of government that they can, that now it's infected the Secret Service and it has gotten people killed. Frankly. Because we, instead of hiring people based on competency and their ability to do a good job and keep people safe, we've started hiring people based on their genitalia. I mean, I'm just going to say it. That's what it is. Now, again, these are the same people that can't tell you what a woman is. But what they can tell you is we need more women in the Secret Service. Because we do. That's because that is what is so obvious, Aaron. Like we have, because they're women, they have to be in the Secret Service. And it just doesn't make any sense. You've seen this over the years. There's a lot of folks who have been talking about this in the context of air traffic, or air travel, I should say. And that a lot of these airlines now have come out and said, we're going to hire X number of women, we're going to hire X number of minorities, we're going to hire X number of this. And that's great, in a sense. It sounds great. But we don't live in fantasy land. We live in the real world. And I don't care if you're purple, pink, green, you got green hair and yellow eyes and blue sky. I don't care if you look like a Smurf. If you can't drive an airplane or fly an airplane, you shouldn't be flying one. And if you can't keep President Trump safe or any person of high profile safe, you shouldn't be in the Secret Service. And to that point, I don't care if you're 6'8" and a bodybuilder and whatever color with a great haircut and you look like Tom Cruise. If you're not good at security, you shouldn't be in the Secret Service. And the fact that I have to sit here on the Dave Elswick Show in the year 2024 and say that makes my head want to explode. Because we shouldn't have to say it. It should just be obvious that the most qualified people should get the job. And if McDonald's or 7-Eleven or whoever, if they want to have DEI, then, good for them, I suppose. Although there's certainly some ways that could go wrong. When you're talking about food safety and some of these other things. But when you're talking about security, you're talking about air traffic control or flying airlines and planes. You're talking about some really serious things. And those jobs should be based on competency and skill and character, frankly, to some degree, and not what you look like or who you sleep with or what you identify as. And I can't believe that I'm having to say that. Aaron, you've got some audio on this. Tell us who this is, and I know this is on the DEI subject line here.
Yeah, this is the Secretary, or not Secretary, Secret Service Chief Cheadle, I believe a few years ago, talking about how they were beginning to start with these new DEI.
Okay, so this is the Director of Secret Service.
Yeah, this is her.
And she's talking about the importance of having diversity, equity, and inclusion in the hiring practices of the Secret Service. Let's play that.
As I sit in this chair now, of making sure that we need to attract diverse candidates and ensure that we are developing and giving opportunities to everybody in our workforce, and particularly women.
That workforce will be pivotal for the 2024 campaign season, which for the first time includes a former president who already has lifetime protection. Agents were there when Donald Trump was arraigned in New York.
We were able to work out the details ahead of time of how that particular day was going to go, but we will always ensure the safety of all of our protectees that we have.
The service has a zero-fail mission, a mission officers are training to uphold, pretending this field is the most famous address in America.
So there you have it. I mean, in her own words, we need more women in the Secret Service, and we're going to ensure diversity in the Secret Service. That says it all. Because, again, you can see very clearly, I watched the video again during the break, Aaron, you can see in the video, you've got 4 or 5 of these massive Secret Service agents surrounding President Trump, and then in the front, facing the audience, and probably, it's hard to tell, but based on the perspective, it looks like maybe even from the direction that the shots were coming from, you have a 5'9" tall woman standing in front of President Trump, who her head comes up to like the top of his chin. So his entire face, his entire head is exposed. And I'm not a security expert. I don't play one on TV. I did not stay at a Hampton Inn last night, okay? But some things are obvious. And I'm unclear as to why, again, we talked about this in the first hour, but he ducked, they bravely and thankfully, and I want to be sure, I'm not being dismissive of the folks that bravely intervened. They did ultimately save his life. And had they not been there or gotten there as quickly as they had, maybe it would have been a different outcome. But there are some things here that just don't add up, and it's scary that this was allowed to happen. Nic Horton filling in for Dave Elswick on the Dave Elswick Show. We've got more coming your way. Stick around.
You need a roof on your house? Do like I do. Call PI Roofing. Have them come out to your house. Walk on your roof. Nobody walks on my roof to work on it other than PI Roofing. They've put 2 roofs on my house. They've also been out to fix a couple of leaks that had happened. One leak, I couldn't believe they found it. It was leaking in my living room, and they found one nail sticking up. It couldn't have been more than 1/4 of an inch on my garage. They nailed it back in, covered up with some kind of tar-like material and some tape into the leak. But they found that one nail. That's how good they are. They found it and they took good care of it. They can do the same thing for you. All you got to do is call them and talk to them. Same number that I use, 1-501-707-3115. Call them and tell them at PI Roofing that Dave told you to call.
And now a public service announcement from 101.1 The Answer. If you've noticed friends, family, or anyone else in your life sounding as if they're slipping off the edge of reality into wokeness, please remind them what Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders says.
I think it's because you're not listening to enough of Dave Elswick.
The Dave Elswick Show, the antidote to wokeness. Weekday mornings on 101.1 The Answer. Here at 101.1 The Answer, we're dedicated to you. Yeah, we talk about the issues that matter most and provide unique insights so that you'll be as informed as possible. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. If you can snap your fingers, you can find this radio station. So the next time you want to listen to us, your smartphone is now your smart radio. We're always on 101.1 The Answer. If you're a business owner, everywhere you turn, someone is telling you about how you need to be using digital marketing. They throw around terms like SEO and geofencing. It all sounds overwhelming, right? Not to mention expensive. So what if you could get some advice about digital marketing with no strings attached? Well, good news. Our sales team members are experts at all things digital. If you ever have any questions, we'd love to help. Call us now at 501-404-6560. 501-404-6560. This is the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1 FM, The Answer.
We're back on the Dave Elswick Show. That one snuck up on the air and I almost missed it, but we're back. Nic Horton of Opportunity, Arkansas, filling in for Dave Elswick. We're talking about what everyone else in the world is talking about today, and that's the attempted assassination of President Trump. I'm going to try to wrap this up here in this last segment. And in the last 30 minutes of the show, I really want to cover some local issues. I know Dave covers local issues a lot, and there's some really important stuff that's happening at the state level. So I want to be sure we give the time and attention to President Trump's attempted assassination and all that entails, and give it the time that it deserves, because there's frankly just nothing else more important going on, I think, in the country, maybe in the world right now. But also want to make sure that we cover some of the really important stuff that's happening here in the state of Arkansas. So we'll do that in the 8:30, after the top of the half hour here. I just saw during the break on Fox News that there's a now report, not sure entirely where this is coming from, but there's a report now that the rooftop that the shooter was on was flagged as a security threat before the rally. So I don't know where that's coming from. And as I say that out loud, I realize it sounds very obvious. Like, oh yeah, my 7-year-old could have told you that, right? There's an empty building right there, 150 yards from the stage. It's the closest building to the stage. It's probably a security risk. I'm really curious too to know, how did this guy get on the roof? Was there a ladder? Was there a stairwell? Was there roof access from inside the building? Maybe a minor detail, maybe not ultimately that important, but it seems really curious to me to know how he was able to get up there, and not without being spotted, obviously, because someone saw him, multiple people saw him, we know that too, but my impression is they saw him once he got up there, and the video I saw this morning for the first time was an entirely different perspective than I had seen this weekend. It was honestly chilling because he's laying there on the roof, and I mean, this was a very close-up video, and you can see him not climbing on the roof, and the video starts with him already there laying down, but you can see him kind of jostling around and almost sitting up a couple times like he was really trying to get in position. And again, how do you see all of that and not do something? And you had multiple people around the building yelling, "Hey, there's a guy." I mean, and that is on video as well. That's not just speculation. That's not just an eyewitness report, although that would certainly be significant. But you have on video multiple people saying, "Hey, there's a guy on the roof." I think in one of the clips they even say, "There's a guy on the roof and he's got a gun." And where was the urgency? Where was the urgency? And someone has said on TV, I think I saw this weekend, well, Secret Service has a protocol that they don't shoot until shots are fired. Well, maybe we need to change the freaking protocol at minimum. But I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of law enforcement. I know prosecutors. I know people around this state that have been in law enforcement for 20 or 30 years. I don't know any of them that would say, "Well, we don't shoot until somebody shoots at us." I mean, maybe that's an overstatement. Maybe that's an overgeneralized statement. But if you're in law enforcement and you see someone pointing a sniper rifle at another person, you don't shoot? You don't fire a warning shot? You don't shoot them in the leg? You don't do something? That I take issue with. That I cannot believe. And I said in the first hour, I'm not a security expert. The whole concept is so overwhelming to me. I'm very glad that there's someone else that's in charge of this. Because if I was in charge of it, I would go bonkers. There's so many scenarios. There's so many loopholes, potential gaps. There's so many variables at play. You can get rid of all the guns, you can build this perimeter, you can scan everybody that comes in, but if somebody has an ink pen and they decide to run up on stage and try to stab the president with it, like, how do you account for all that? I mean, you can account for some of that, right? But like you can't rule out everything. It's very difficult, so I respect truly the difficulty of what they're trying to do and the magnitude of what they're trying to do. It's exceptionally difficult. I couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. But this isn't like, well, we did everything right, and yet something still happened. This seems to be a lot more like, well, we did some things right, and we identified the guy before he shot, and we had him in our sights before he shot, and now we know a law enforcement officer went up on the roof and confronted him before he shot and then left. And something really horrible happened. And it doesn't matter. I mean, let me back up. It matters that President Trump survived, but some people didn't. And he was shot. And he was within millimeters of not making it. So we can't lose sight of that. Nic Horton on the Dave Elswick Show. We'll be back after this.
So the body knows that it needs to heal itself, but it doesn't know how to concentrate it and target it into just one area. So that's where we come in.
By we, Dr. Ashley Caravelli means the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, QC Kinetics.
We put in those treatments, then it sends out like little signalers to your body. We're able to make the body focus on the areas that need the most healing.
QC Kinetics has gathered brilliant medical minds like Dr. Caravelli and Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, a pioneer in the field of regenerative medicine, to lead the way in these innovative pain treatments.
So at QC Kinetics, we have a whole team working nationwide with cutting-edge research to reach our patients and treat them and know that surgery is no longer their only option.
The consultation is free. Find out if you're a candidate. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 501-222-8440. That's 501-222-8440. 501-222-8440.
It really is true that good can come from even the worst situation. When Dusty Dawn was 15, she was taken into DHS care. Today, she's not only an attorney, but she is the advocate for kids that she never had. Dusty Dawn Law specializes in adoption, guardianship, and custody disputes. Dusty Dawn Law, dedicated and determined. Get a free 30-minute consultation by calling 501-516-4019. That's 501-516-4019, or go to dustydawnlaw.com.
This is Congressman French Hill. Do you or someone you know in Central Arkansas need assistance with a federal agency? My team is here to help. We're hosting a mobile office day at Harps in Valonia from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time on July 17th to assist with any issues. For more information, please call my office at 501-324-5941 or visit my website at hill.house.gov. We hope to see you there. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Ryan Helms. Okay, Dr. Helms, let's start with the basics. What is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage in the feet, legs, and hands.
So what are some of the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, tingling, burning, electric shock, pain, and loss of balance.
So is neuropathy treatable?
It is absolutely treatable, and if you qualify for our specific care plan, we can get you amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands, or have balance issues, call Central Arkansas Nerve and Joint Center today for a nerve damage screening. It'll tell you if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. The first 10 callers receive a free nerve damage screening. Call now 501-295-4294 for your free screening. Call 501-295-4294. The first 10 callers get this important screening for free. 501-295-4294.
Here's your forecast on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
A heat advisory remains in effect today as heat index values push above 105. The high temperature is 97. By tomorrow, we'll see a very similar day, unfold 99 on Tuesday afternoon with the heat index above 105. Later Wednesday, scattered thunderstorm chances return. Those rain chances increase on Thursday, and cooler, drier air pushes into the state later this week. From the Channel 7 Weather Center, I'm James Bryant.
An Arkansas talk legend, Dave Elswick, on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
Nic Horton back filling in for Dave Elswick. Dave, we hope you get to feeling better, and appreciate again the opportunity, as always, to be in this chair. We've been talking for the first hour and a half here about the attempted assassination on President Trump. Obviously, there is a lot more to be said, and frankly, just a lot more to be discovered about what happened this weekend. I've got a lot more questions than I do answers, and I think as time goes on, we're going to learn more, but we're also going to have more and more questions. And so I think we have said pretty much all we can say about that this morning, and I want to use the remainder of our time to talk about some things that are happening here at the state and local level, because you're going to get a lot of content from the national media and the state media about the assassination attempt, and rightfully so. But there are some things going on that, frankly, I don't think you're going to get anywhere else. At least not the real story on some of this stuff. You're not going to get it anywhere else. And so I want to turn, if you've been following the statewide news at all, you've probably seen that Secretary of State John Thurston ruled that the abortion amendment that had been circulated around the state for the last 6 months or so, 5 months or so, was invalid, and he has thrown it out. And then you have seen, very predictably, that the left has gone nutso. I think the news came out on Wednesday or so of last week, and I'm sure Dave talked about it. I didn't get a chance to listen, but I'm sure he covered this issue a little bit last week. But what the state media and the liberal bloggers and others are not telling you, and they're not going to tell you, is that the law that's in place that the abortionists violated when they gathered their petitions was put in place by Democrats. It was passed into state law by multiple Democrat sponsors in 2013. And in fact, some of them are still in the state legislature. Several of them are still in the state legislature. And I had a whole Twitter thread on this, which I'll re-up. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I have to say you're missing out. And I don't know if you're a Twitterer or not, I'm a little too into Twitter, probably. I've gone through phases, where I've like gone off of Twitter actually at one point for like 2 years and just said I'm done. It's just too toxic, just too much noise. And I'm spending way too much time on here. But I will say, once Elon took it over, it has changed for the better. You're not seeing nearly as many bots and trolls as you used to see. And there's some other tweaks and changes that he's made that I think have made it a much better platform. But it's where I get a ton of news. It's where a lot of folks get a lot of news. And it's a place where we share unique information. You can follow me at NH Horton, but you can also follow our organization, Opportunity Arkansas. And our handle is at Op Arkansas. We've got the same handle on Instagram. And we're on Facebook, of course, as well. But the state media and the liberal tabloids and blogs are just losing their minds, as we knew they would, right? And I get not frustrated, but I almost get bored with these people because they're so predictable. What did Rush used to say? I know these people like I know every square inch of my glorious naked body. I won't go that far, but they're pretty predictable. And so the minute I saw this news come out, I knew exactly what they were going to say. This is a right-wing conspiracy. This is the governor flexing her muscle. This is the Republican Secretary of State who hates women who's throwing this out over a technicality. And lo and behold, what happened? Within minutes. That's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they said. In fact, the DPA, the Democrat Party of Arkansas, yes, they still exist, technically. They put out a statement and some graphics. This, looked like a political mailer or like a hit piece, like this shadowy image of Secretary of State John Thurston. And John Thurston hates women, and he threw this out on a technicality, and we're always going to fight for women, and we're always going to fight for abortion rights. But it's not a technicality, number one, and we'll get to that. It's also, though, it's a law that was championed by your heroes of the left. State Senator Keith Ingram from West Memphis being one. He was the lead sponsor. And by the way, we found some video now that's out there on YouTube that I also shared on my Twitter account. I can't do this while I'm doing live radio, but I will go in during the break and I'll re-up that Twitter thread if you want to see it. But we found some video of former Attorney General Dustin McDaniel, who was a Democrat candidate for governor before he dropped out due to some marital indiscretion, we'll say. He wrote the bill. He championed the bill. Him and Keith Ingram championed this thing. And you see in the video, which maybe we should play that audio in the next segment, Aaron. I may send that to you to pull. But they do this whole press conference where they're rolling out the bill, and they talk about how important the bill is for protecting the integrity of the initiative process. And here's what it did. So we'll just go back to the basics here. The petitioners that gathered signatures to put this radical abortion amendment on the ballot in November, they screwed up. They were supposed to file paperwork before they started collecting signatures on their paid canvassers. And paid canvassers are people that these big ballot campaigns, they go out and hire them. They raise money from big left-wing organizations and left-wing donors. And then they use the funds to pay people to go out and get signatures for these initiatives. Now, of course, they tell you, oh, this is a huge grassroots effort. This is the people. This is a groundswell of support for this issue. They don't tell you that a lot of these folks are being paid, highly paid. And I've been told, and this is all public record, you can go look it up. You can go, call the Secretary of State's office and ask. But I've been told the abortion campaign had more than 150 paid canvassers that they were using to get signatures for the abortion amendment. And here's where the rub comes in. If you use paid signatures or paid canvassers to get signatures, there are important steps that you have to follow with the Secretary of State's office. And some of it, as you will hear in that video from former Attorney General Thurston, by the way, not just a backbencher in the legislature, the Senate Minority Leader, who was rumored to be a statewide candidate himself at some point, Keith Ingram from West Memphis, talk about this bill that created these rules. And they're not that onerous. Essentially, it's turn in a piece of paper that says you understand the rules. You understand you can't lie to people to get signatures. You understand you can't intentionally get fraudulent signatures. Some of those types of things. And then one of the requirements is, basically attesting that you have read and understand the rules that the Secretary of State publishes in a handbook. It's online. You can Google it. You can find it in about 30 seconds, maybe less. It's 50 or 60 pages. It's short. It's easy to read. It has examples. It has forms that you can look at, templates. And it has all the rules right there. All of them. And the abortionists did not follow those rules. And according to Keith Ingram and former Democrat Attorney General Dustin McDaniel, these rules are essential for preserving the integrity of the ballot initiative process. And I agree with them. So fast forward, that was in 2013, more than a decade ago. That law passes overwhelmingly. It gets signed by Democrat Governor Mike Beebe. It gets broad bipartisan support in the state legislature, including support from current Democrat legislators who are still in the legislature, including now Senator Fred Love, including State Representative Steve McGee from Conway, including State Representative Deborah Ferguson. I think I counted more than half a dozen Democrats. Deborah Ferguson was a sponsor of the bill. And so, fast forward 10 years, 11 years, and here we are. The abortionists who were well-funded and allegedly well-organized didn't bother to follow the rules that their own friends created, that are published on the Secretary of State's website in plain English. And so Secretary of State John Thurston, who is a Republican, for whatever difference that makes in this situation, he followed the law and said, you didn't turn in this paperwork, and you're supposed to turn in this paperwork before you gather signatures, and you did not. And therefore, I cannot accept your signatures. Now, there's a lot of ways they're trying to spin that, and they're going to tell you, and they're aggressively saying, well, and it's so interesting. We'll talk about this more after the break. We've got to go to a break. But it's so interesting to see their messaging shift in real time, because they say one thing, and they realize they're exposed, and so they shift. And that's what they've been doing on this issue for the last several days. Just grasping for straws, trying to find something that they can latch onto to keep this issue alive. But they're not going to be successful. Nic Horton filling in for Dave. We'll be right back.
Had a devastating knee injury, tore my ACL, tore my PCL, shredded my medial meniscus, and had an initial surgery. That really didn't hold. Had another follow-up surgery around 8 years later. That didn't work, and I didn't want to undergo another surgical procedure.
Enough with the surgeries. They didn't ease the pain, and recovery was brutal. Carmen heard about another treatment for pain relief, the non-invasive regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics.
I simply figured, heck, I'm going to pick up the phone and call QC Kinetics, and since I've been treated, my quality of life has dramatically gotten better, and I can't thank QC Kinetics enough.
These are the nation's leaders in regenerative medicine. QC Kinetics uses the body's own healing components to help provide relief and functionality.
10 months ago, I had difficulty walking up and down a flight of steps. Now I can do just about anything I desire. I'm back to the old me.
If you have joint pain, before you consider surgery, call QC Kinetics. The consultation is free.
Call QC Kinetics, 501-222-8440. That's 501-222-8440. 501-222-8440.
You're stuck on the side of the highway. What do? Well, I'll tell you, the first thing you should do to get off the side of the highway is to call East End Towing. They know what to do, and they know how to do it. They've got the equipment to do it. They got the know-how to do it. They've got the brain power to do it. I mean, they're part of the Arkansas Tow and Recovery Board. They're licensed. They're insured, and you should never use a tow operation unless you're insured. And each truck is permitted, and they meet the standards for the state. So no matter the situation, East End Towing can handle it and has all the answers. I use them all the time. Whenever I need some help, I give them a call. Here's the number I use, 501-888-8849. That's 501-888-8849. Anything, anytime, anywhere, East End Towing.
Are you a business owner? Did you know that there are over 33 million small businesses in America? Small businesses are the engines that power our country. So why is it so hard for them to acquire business funding for things like expansion and cash flow? Bank loans are becoming harder to attain as large corporations grab all the capital. Who's looking out for you and your business? Meet Swish Funding, the business funding platform offering quick and easy funding options exclusively for small businesses. Whether it's funds for cash flow, expansion, or equipment, Swish Funding has your back. And whether it's $25,000 or even $2 million, our process takes just minutes with cash in your account in less than 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year with an average monthly revenue of at least $25,000. Swish Funding, helping keep America's small businesses running. Apply for the funding your business needs at swishradio.com. That's SWISH radio.com.
Your home for Bill O'Reilly 4 times a day. 7:30 a.m. during the Dave Elswick Show, and 2:30, 3:30, and 4:30 p.m. during Sean Hannity, exclusively on 101.1 FM. The Answer. Watch the Dave Elswick Show live on Facebook, weekdays at 7 on 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Stimulating talk with Dave Elswick, 101.1 FM. The Answer.
The Dave Elswick Show, we're back for one final segment. I probably failed to mention we're keeping the show a little short today at 9 o'clock. We will transition into the Mike Gallagher Show, so you're only going to get 2 hours of the Dave Elswick Show today. I'm sorry. I probably should have said that earlier, but, you know, I wanted you to hang around. I didn't want you to cut us loose, and I'm glad you're here and glad you joined the show today. We're talking about this scandal. That's not really a scandal. It's a scandal for the abortionists, right? Because they failed so miserably despite having all of this money and all of these lawyers and all of this alleged organization. They failed to turn in the appropriate paperwork for their paid canvassers. And we have video. We're not going to have time to play it, but you can see it in my Twitter feed. I just re-upped this thread that we're talking about. It's gotten several thousand views, and I just re-upped it there at Nic Horton on Twitter. You can see in that thread, you can see the letter that Secretary of State John Thurston sent to the abortionist that explains how they violated the rules. You can see in state statute where the rules are outlined, which, again, took me about 30, 45 seconds to find that. There's a link to the handbook that gives the rules. And the point of all of this, look, this is not just a litany of information, right? The point of all of this, and providing all of this information in this forum as we have, is that this was not difficult. And it was not a mystery. And no one was hiding the football. No one was hiding the rules or the lay of the land. Secretary Thurston correctly, I think I loved this part of his letter where he even said, all the other campaigns got this right. Okay, the marijuana campaign, the casino campaign, all of the other ballot campaigns that had paid canvassers, they did it correctly. Why did y'all not do it? That's my words, not his. The question there. But why did everyone else get it right? And it's been interesting to see this shift in their messaging. Because initially the DPA comes out and says, well, this is a right-wing conspiracy, they hate women, and it's a technicality, and this is wrong, this is wrong. And now, as we have pointed out, and I think we're the only ones that have really put this out there so directly, they clearly broke the rules, and they, meaning the Democrats and the left, are the ones that created the rules. They're the ones that passed the law, that created these rules for paid canvassers. Governor Beebe, their hero. If there was a Mount Rushmore of Arkansas liberalism, he would be on it twice. And he signed this bill. And numerous Democrats voted for it, including some who are still in the legislature. So if you got a problem with this, DPA, call Steve McGee. Call Deborah Ferguson. Call Fred Love. Call Keith Ingram. Call your heroes that crafted and drafted and passed this bill. Call Mike Beebe. He's probably playing golf today. Give him a call. Hey, Mike, why'd you do this? But it's not John Thurston's fault. It's certainly not the governor's fault. And really, frankly, the blame truly lies on the abortionists. They're the ones that failed to do this the right way. But it's been so fascinating since this came out on Wednesday to watch the messaging shift, because originally it was a right-wing conspiracy. And then they got hit really hard, frankly, with, well, no, actually, it's in the law, and your guys are the ones that passed it. So what are you going to do with that? Well, now it's become, and their liberal tabloid writers who give them cover on everything are now peddling this narrative that, well, I mean, it's in the law, and you know, the rules were clear. However, state law doesn't explicitly say that if you don't follow the rules, you can throw it out. That's now their argument, is that state law in that same statute where the rules are listed doesn't say that you have to follow the rules. Now, I don't know what they think the point of having rules is, or the point of having laws is, if you don't have to follow them. Again, I would ask that question to Attorney General McDaniel or former Governor Mike Beebe. Hey, why'd you pass this bill? I mean, you didn't really mean for people to have to follow it, right? Can we get that on record? But that's what they're saying. That's their argument now. That's how badly they know they've been beat on this issue. And by the way, Arkansas is a pro-life state. We are a proud pro-life state. We are the most pro-life state in the country. And Arkansans, you have consistently sent more and more and more and more state legislators to the Capitol that are pro-life, a governor who's exceptionally pro-life, an attorney general, and constitutional officers that are all pro-life. That's the voice of the people. That's the will of the people. It's very clear. I don't know where these 2 hours went. They went even quicker than I thought was possible. But we're out of time. We're going to roll into the Mike Gallagher Show. Thanks, Dave, for letting me sit in again, as always. Hope you get to feeling better. This is Nic Horton of Opportunity, Arkansas, filling in for Dave Elswick. Aaron,